The Falcons have made a handful of roster moves following preseason week 1, so we're going to break it all down on today's episode, and then we're going to talk about Michael Penix and what we saw from him, because I feel like all the injury news and the Justin Simmons rumors have taken away a little bit from the rookie quarterback's debut. But quick reminder, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. That way when these other signings come down, like Justin Simmons or Hassan Reddick trade, you are not in the dark. Hit the sub button so you don't miss a single thing for the Dirty Birds. But let's start by running through the 2 roster additions. The Falcons added 2 DBs, William Hooper and Josh Thompson. I don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 signings happened at 2 positions where the Falcons got banged up. Harrison Hand, a cornerback, was placed on injured reserve. His season is done. Josh Thompson replacing DeMarco Hellams, at least in the next couple of days in practice. I don't think he's an actual replacement for what Hellams' role was this season. Now, of course, to make up or make room for those 2 additions, there were 2 departures. Fullback/running back Robert Burns, who has been on the PUP list the whole time, he was released. And then wide receiver Austin Mack, who only played 7-8 snaps on Friday. He had 1 target, no receptions. He was released as well. But let's get to know the 2 latest members of the Falcons roster. Josh Thompson, a DB, UDFA out of Texas. He's hopped around the entire AFC South, so now he's making his rounds in the NFC South. He's got the more experience of the 2, 6-game appearances. He's only ever played on special teams, so maybe Atlanta was not happy with their kickoff or kick return units on Friday and decided, let's go get a better special teamer like Thompson. And then William Hooper, UDFA as well. He has never appeared in an NFL regular season game. He's hopped around the Packers, Patriots, and Cardinals offseason rosters, but I don't think he's even landed on a practice squad yet. So those are the 2 signings, and you can see how they stack up for the rest of the secondary, where the Falcons are looking to make some additions, I would imagine, after the injury to Hellams and with the rumors of Justin Simmons and Rappaport sharing that he is visiting Atlanta over the next 2 days. So that's the latest on the roster front. Admittedly, I will say, not the roster signings I was hoping for. True story, I'm sitting at my desk. Anytime at Chat Sports, one of the hosts of a channel, their team does something, the whole office starts to get a little bit loud and like, you got to figure out what your team did. And they're like, Petey, they made a safety signing. And I was like, Justin fucking Simmons? And I'm like, who the hell is Josh Thompson? Like, that's not what I was hoping for. But hopefully Thompson proves me wrong and he goes on to be a Hall of Famer. Now, name a random Falcons player for me down below. I don't want to see a Matt Ryan. I don't want to see a Julio Jones. I want random Falcons. I want Mohamed Sanu level Falcons. Tevin Coleman's probably a little bit too notable even to qualify. The more random, the better. Now, let's talk about Michael Penix, because I felt like the injuries to Braylon Trice and DeMarco Hellams kind of sucked the air out of Penix's debut, and I just haven't given enough time to react to what we saw on Friday in Miami. So, Penix against the Dolphins had 5 drives. He went 9 for 16, 104 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He had some field goal drives. Unfortunately, Chris Blair had a fumble, which robbed him of a longer drive as well. But the overall highlights that I saw from Penix's game, the number one thing was he picked up where he left off at Washington. He was staying true to his game, which is a vertical passer. If you wanted a guy for dink and dunks and to stay on schedule, like, that's Bo Nix for you. If you wanted a little bit of a wild card with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but you don't know where it's going to go, that's J.J. McCarthy. Those were kind of the 3 options Atlanta had at pick number 8. But they wanted the vertical threat. They wanted the guy that was going to risk it for the biscuit. And that's a fun quarterback to play with in Madden on NCAA, but it's a little bit different in game scenarios where you put the ball up in harm's way. But I was very happy to see that Penix didn't deviate from what he was at Washington and what made him so successful. Like, you're going to have to live and die with, he's going to go deep at times. That's going to result in some incomplete passes where maybe you could have gone underneath and picked up 3 or 4 yards and played it safe. But that's also going to eliminate possibilities of, like, linking up with Blair for a 41-yard pickup the next play after he fumbles. Like, you got to take the good with the bad. And I was very happy with the good that we saw from Penix. Now, there were some jitters at moments. Like, Every once in a while, he was a little bit off target, but it's a preseason game. It's his first ever preseason game. I'm not going to overanalyze or overreact to that. We'll watch him plenty over the next 2 preseason games. My guess is this coaching staff and front office wants to see plenty of him, so they have a good idea of what he needs to work on while he rides the bench for the next year, 2, maybe 3. So we'll get plenty of Penix dosage in preseason football, which is awesome because it makes the preseason somewhat bearable. But overall, very encouraging stuff. If you didn't watch the game, honestly, power to you a little bit. There's a lot better ways to spend a Friday night than watching NFL preseason football because the second half can just be an absolute shit show. I mean, just so sloppy. But Penix, I thought, brought a lot of really good stuff. There were moments of inaccuracy, but I mean, he threw 16 passes. It's not a big sample size, and we end up nitpicking probably a little bit too much. Now, I know everyone loves to do lists and rankings, so I thought I would give you my rookie quarterbacks who went round 1 preseason rankings after 1 game. Number 1, I'll go with Caleb Williams. I mean, he looked as ready as they come. He made some very difficult throws look easy. Really exciting stuff out of him in Chicago. Number 2, I'll go with Jaden Daniels. He had that big deep pass. I can't remember who the receiver was, but he had a nice deep De'Ami Brown. I mispronounced his first name, but he had a nice deep ball. Bo Nix probably had one of the better stat lines of the day. He went 15 for 21, over 100 yards and a touchdown, so hard to ignore that. I'll put Penix at 4. Not that he did anything bad or worse, but just the other guys all did a little bit better and had some touchdown passes. At 5, I'll put JJ. McCarthy had some good throws, but he was also working up against the 3rd and 4th stringers for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he also had an interception, so I'll put him behind Michael. And then number 6, Drake May. He kind of played in a monsoon, but he looked the worst of the 6 for sure. Now, before we get to the rest of today's video, make sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss a single thing. And we're going to be live for another preseason game. So hit the sub button down below. Come hang out with us for week 2 against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to be going live 30 minutes to 60 minutes before kickoff. So if you're looking for a much more enjoyable way to take in preseason football, this is it, baby. Hang out with us this upcoming Saturday against Baltimore.